Very good morning to everyone. So today we'll be doing the weekly analysis of the Hindu newspaper. So I have shared the screen with you, and these are the articles that I'll be discussing with you. Okay, so the first one is India's Arctic imperative. Now, what is the whole context about? So, in December 2023, there were four Indian climate scientists who embarked on groundbreaking winter expedition. Groundbreaking winter expeditions to the Arctic region. And this was India's first foray into where Arctic research. That means December 2023, there was this winter expeditions to the Arctic, and this was India's first Arctic research for. Now let's discuss about this expedition. So what is this Arctic expedition all about? Now, if you see, India sent off its first winter expeditions, which comprised of four scientists and from four different institutions to the regions of Himadri. Now, the point is, where do we have the bases in the Arctic region? Just a second. Yeah. Where do India has the bases? India has the bases in the Arctic region, so there are at least 10 countries that have set up their permanent facilities at International Arctic Research Base. Now there is a board that is, or you can say the group that is Svalbard group. So the Svalbard group of islands. Now this group of island is the closest human habitation to the North Pole. Fine. So if you see altogether, what is happening is that back in December 2023, there was this winter expeditions which was conducted by India in the where in the Arctic regions for the research purpose in the Himadri areas. Now, what happened was that there are many countries, like 10 countries, who have set up their permanent facilities where in the bases in the Arctic region. Now, this Svalbard groups of island is the closest human habitation to the North Pole region. Now, what is the news behind? So, see, India will soon join, a small group of countries for what? To operate their Arctic research bases through winter. Arctic research bases through winter. Now, the point is that what does this Arctic region comprises of? So, let's talk about what the Arctic region comprises of. Now, see, the area above the Arctic Circle, if you, get time, then please open the map, and then you'll find that what are the areas and what are the areas that comprises above the Arctic Circle. So north of 66 degree and 34 minutes. Here you have what? This region is a part of 8 countries. So what you need to know over here is that you should know the Arctic region, you should know about the countries, you should know about the location. So what are those 8 countries? So Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and the US forms the Arctic Council, thus the Arctic Ocean. Fine. Okay, now the point is that we have configured out the region, we have configured out the location, we have found the countries, we have discussed about the Arctic Council, the Arctic Ocean region. Now the point is that, why, or you can say what is the reason that the Arctic region is of importance to us. So how does the Arctic region is of great importance to us? So let's see if the warming of Arctic region happens, what shall be the impact? Now, what we have seen up till now is that the temperature in the Arctic region, the temperature in the Arctic region has risen about 4 degrees Celsius on an average over the last 100 years. That if we take the analysis of past 100 years, what we find is that the temperature has risen by 4 degrees Celsius, and 2023 was the warmest year on record. And according to IPCC, that is International Panel of Climate Change, what they say is that the extent of Arctic sea ice has been declining at the rate of 13% per decade. That means the reports of the IPCC has been saying that the Arctic sea ice was found to be declining by 13%, and the condition or the present condition of the Arctic region is that the temperature has risen by 4 degrees centigrade in the past 100 years, and 2023 was the warmest year on record. So if we have, if you are not going to check this the issue that is pertaining to the Arctic region, it is also said by IPCC that soon the time will be very near when we will witness that the Arctic region would become ice free in less than 20 years. Fine. Other than that, now we have witnessed what? Melting of ice. Now, what would be the repercussion of this melting of ice? Now see, once the melting of ice begins, now I have just told you that according to the reports of IPCC, they are saying that if we are not going to check the melting of this Arctic Circle regions, what we'll find is that in 20 years, the Arctic region would become ice free. Now, what is going to happen? Now, first thing, you will also agree with me that there will be rise in the sea levels. Definitely, yes, because there will be more flow of water, so rise in sea level. Now, when there will be rise in sea level, what is going to happen? This is going to influence your atmospheric circulation. Fine. Other than that, what you find is that there will be increase in tropical sea surface temperature. Now, when there will be increase in tropical sea surface temperature, this will lead to increased precipitation in the tropics. Fine. Now, this was, you can say, the negative repercussion, or you can say the feedback, negative feedback. If if we are not able to control the melting of ice in the Arctic region, this is primarily what we are going to witness. Now, let's see the positive impact. So, what is the positive impact? So, you see, if the temperature becomes a bit milder in the Arctic region, which is definitely happening because I told you that plus 4 degrees centigrade there was rise in this temperature, and also there's melting of ice. So you'll find the temperature will become milder in the Arctic region, and once the temperature becomes milder in the Arctic region, this becomes what? A place more habitable. Other than that, you'll also find that there could be what? A rush from the countries, primarily the developed countries. And this rush from the developed countries will be for what? To exploit the Arctic's resources. Now, why will there be rush from developed countries to exploit the Arctic resources? Because this will, lead to more of discovery with respect to navigation, with respect to trade, with respect to minerals. Other than that, also with respect to strategic sectors. Fine. Okay. Now, these are the reasons probably which your Arctic regions become important for us to read and also discover more things. Now, let's move on to the next article. The next article talks about India Middle East Europe corridor akin to Silk Route. Now, why this article becomes important? What is the context behind it? So, what has happened is the Honorable Prime Minister has emphasized the transformative potential of India's India's Middle East Europe economic corridor. Why? Because of the historical significance. Because of the historical significance, the Silk Route carried. Now the point is, what is IMEC? That is India's Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. So you find now the point is that which are the countries we will be dealing with in this corridor. So we have India, we have European Union, we have Saudi Arabia, we have UAE, we have Germany, we have France, we have Italy, we have US. So they are the one who are helpful or who will be establishing India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Now it is expected to stimulate economic development through this. So the prime reason why this corridor is considered is first because of economic development. This shall also lead to enhanced connectivity. So economic development, enhanced connectivity, and also economic integration. And this, see, the region is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. So, if economic development, connectivity, and integration happens to take place, so what are the regions which will be targeted? So, the region comprises of Asia, Arabian Peninsula, and the Europe Corridor. Fine. Now, this IMEC will be comprising of two separate corridors. And what are those two separate corridors? First is your Eastern Corridor. This Eastern Corridor deals with what? This Eastern Corridor deals with connecting India and the Arabian Gulf. So first part of IMEC is your Eastern Corridor. The second part is your Northern Corridor. Now Eastern Corridor, Northern Corridor. Now what are Northern Corridor? So the Northern Corridor deals with connecting Arabian Gulf to Europe. Okay, so Eastern Corridor connecting India with the Arabian Gulf. Northern Corridor connecting the Arabian Gulf to the Europe region. Now let's see how. Now see, you have India over here. Fine. Then you have this regions of Pakistan. Then here you have the regions of Arabia, and then you have the African region, and this is your Horn of Africa. So now you see, I said in the Eastern Corridor, what is going to happen? India will be connected to your Arabian Peninsula region. So this is India. India is getting connected to the Arabian Peninsula region. And in the second part, I said the Arabian Peninsula will be connected to the regions of Europe. So from here, we are going to connect with the regions of Europe. So we have India, we have Arabian Peninsula, and we have Europe. Now, here India gets connected to UAE, then the regions of Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, there are many more places, but just representing the states one. So UAE, Saudi Arabia, and then you have the regions of Israel. And here, when they say Greece, Europe, so it is the region of Greece. So now, if you see, this is how India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor would look like. Fine. Okay. Now, when we talk about connectivity, the point is how this connectivity is happening or how this connectivity is taking place. So, the regions are connected through. Just a minute. Okay. So, this shall include what? A railway line. So a railway line will probably help in what? Cost effective cross-border shipping. So there will be a rail transit network. Fine. Other than that, the railway connectivity will also help in increasing the digital connectivity. And there will be clean hydrogen export. Clean hydrogen export. So digital connectivity, clean hydrogen export. Fine. This shall also lead to what? Improvement of trade facilitation. Fine. Okay. Now, this is how the entire India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor will look like. Now, what is the potential of this corridor? That means, although we are, increasing the connectivity through railway lines, and there will be rail transit, and there will be more of connectivity, there will be more of export of clean hydrogen, there will be trade facilitation, etc. Other than that, what potential significance this IMEC is carrying? So, if you see, this shall lead to also strengthening of your geo-economic ties. Geo-economic ties. Now, what are those geo-economic ties? So, this geo-economic ties will also, you know, help in India's aim of reviving look west policy. So if you see this IMEC corridor with the purpose of increasing geo-economic ties will help in fostering India's look west policy, and also at the same time will help in more of economic engagements. Fine. What else? There will be strategic integration of Europe. Strategic integration of Europe with India. So if you see India getting connected to Europe through India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Right. Okay, so this is what is the potential of this corridor. Now, how will it solely benefit India? So, I have just told you that this kind of helps in fostering look west policy of India. So, India's look west policy. Other than that, it also will be helpful in countering China's Belt Road initiative. So, this shall be helpful in countering China's Belt Road initiative. It also helps in enhancing trans-regional connectivity. Fine. Other than that, what else or how this is going to impact India, or what good it is going to bring to India? So India will also have an opportunity to collaborate with Africa, and this shall happen through Trans-African Corridor. Fine. Okay. Now the point is that this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor is of high potential. It is also impacting India in a positive way. But what are the certain concerns related to IMEC? That means, see, firstly, what is going to happen is it will be able to address the economic imbalance that is there at global level. For example, there are imbalance of trade between EU and India. So consistent effort can bring in the change over here. Other than that, if you see what is happening, just a minute. Okay. Other than that, what is happening is that IMEC member countries, including the EU and India, they currently import a lot of high-tech products from China. So EU and India at present are importing high-tech products. High-tech, that means high technology products. High technology products from China. Fine. So with this India, Middle East, and Europe economic corridor, this shall lead to what, or we can say this might bring in self-sufficiency. Fine. Okay. Now let's move on to the next article. Okay, so the next article says that RSWM, the RSWM recycles PET bottles to produce polyester fiber. That means this RSWM recycles what? PET bottles for to produce polyester fiber. Now let's see what is happening. See, RSWM. What is RSWM? So RSWM is actually Rajasthan Spinning and Weaving Mills Group. Now this group is one of the prominent Indian, fabric group, or you can say fabric manufacturer. And this group primarily talks about sustainability and green initiatives with respect to fabric manufacturing. Fine. Okay. What are the initiatives that have been taken? So, first initiative that has been taken is use of renewable energy. Renewable energy. That means here you will be using what? In case of any power cut, etc., we will be using wind power, or for that matter, any power which is comprises of green units. Then the PET bottle. Now the PET bottles that we have, this RSWM converts close to 6 lakh of PET bottles into polyester fiber. Fine. Other than that, if you recycle this PET bottle, the recycling of this PET bottle would constitute how much of polyester production? So this shall lead to 50% of total polyester production. Fine. Other than that, when you are going for the recycling of these polyester, or you can say PET bottles, what is happening is that you are also contributing towards waste management. Okay. Now let's do what actually these PET bottles are. So the PET bottles are basically what? They are polyethylene terephthalate. Polyethylene terephthalate. Now this is one of the widely used plastics. Okay, so one of the widely used plastics. Now, other than that, this PET bottles is made from a thermoplastic polymer. Now, this thermoplastic polymer is actually originating from petroleum. When petroleum is heated on, this actually or easily takes the shape of thermoplastic polymer. Now, since it talks about recycling of PET bottles, so let's see how the recycling process of PET bottle takes place. Recycling of PET bottles. Now, PET bottles are entirely recyclable. That means the bottles that are used of this material, that is your polyethylene terephthalate, is entirely, just a minute. So these PET bottles, firstly, these PET bottles are entirely recyclable. Now, this makes PET bottles valuable. That means there is no wastage because the bottle is getting entirely recyclable. Now, through recycling, what is happening? Now, when these PET bottles undergo recycling, then there are high chances that they could be molded into any shape. Fine. Okay. Other than that, what else is happening? These PET bottles, the packaging is clean, safe, convenient, and also very lightweight. Now, PET bottles also have a lower melting temperature. Also, if you see in closed loop system, you find that PET packaging can be recycled repeatedly without losing its quality. Fine. Then you have where these PET bottles are used, and other is how pollution is being caused because of these PET bottles, etc. Now this becomes important with your environment segment and also science and tech. Fine. Okay. Now let's move on to the next article. Just a minute. IMBC is done, PET is done, ARCIC, expedition is done, recycling is done, just a minute. Imported inflation, how import cost and increase in price of goods and services. Just a second. Okay, now if you check the dues, just a minute, reforms needed in voting process. Just hold on for a second. Okay. Now here what you'll find is okay. Now what is this article all about? So recently what has happened is that the Asian Development Bank, that is ADB, has recently warned India. And what has Asian Development Bank, said about India that comes as a warning. So it has warned India that India could face imported inflation. So India could face imported inflation as rupee could depreciate. And why will the rupee depreciate? Because of rise in interest rates in the West. So, when you study the article, the question arises: what is imported inflation? What do you understand by imported inflation? What do you mean by imported inflation? So, let's study about what is imported inflation. So, imported inflation refers to the rise in prices of goods and services in a country that is caused by an increase in cost of imports into the country. So what is imported inflation? So imported inflation is rise in the prices of goods and services in a country. Why? Because there is increase in the cost of imports into the country. That means there is increase in the cost of imports into the country that has led to the rise and increase in the prices of goods and services in a country. Now, it is also believed, what first is this? Now, it is also believed that a rise in input cost a rise in input costs also pushes producers to raise the price they charge from local customer, which shall be leading to boosting inflation. So what is happening altogether? First is that because of rise in goods and services in a country, there shall be increase in cost imports into the country. The second factor says that if there is rise in input cost, this pushes producers to raise the price. The local customer thus, to raise the price, the local customer, thus boosting inflation. So this is what is known as imported inflation. Now, why shall, or you can say how this is leading to inflation? So if you see, when a country's currency depreciates, so when a country's currency, so when when a country's currency depreciates, or if there is a rise in import price, what is the need? So here the need is, or people need to shell out what, more of their local currency. And when they shell out more of their local currency, for what reason? To actually purchase the necessary foreign currency. Like for what reason? To buy foreign goods. So this will lead to what? This shall lead to, just a minute. Okay. This shall lead to effective paying. Now, this effective paying is with respect to what? This effective paying is with respect to, that means you end up paying more with respect to the, or when, or you can say in case of imports. Just a minute. In case of imports. Fine. So what you need to do over here is that you should know what import inflation is, how import inflation is caused, the report of ADB, that is your Asian Development Bank, and what has Asian Development Bank suggested, what Asian Development Bank has talked about with respect to inflation. Fine. Now let's move on to the next article. The next article says there is reforms needed in voting. Just a minute. Just a second. Okay. So reforms needed in the voting process. Now, what is the reforms that are required in the reforms that are required in the voting process. So, what is happening? Just a second. Just hold on for a minute. Okay. So, what are the reforms that are needed in the voting process? So, what has led to this? So, because of the recent controversies, and what were those controversies? So, that controversies were surrounding with respect to EVM. So, what were the controversies all about? So they say that the Supreme Court has decided to hear the petition, which is seeking 100% cross verification of VVPAT slips. So 100% cross verification of VVPAT slips with vote count as per EVM. So let's check out what has been the historical background with respect to EVM. Right? So 1982, EVM was introduced on trial basis, where it was introduced in the Assembly constituency of Aravur in Kerala. Right. Now, this was the case in 1982. That means the introduction of EVM happened in 1982 with respect to Assembly constituency in Kerala. Then in 2001, they were deployed in all booths. And this was during the Assembly election of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry, and West Bengal in 2001. Now, what else happened, or how did this historical evolution of EVM happen? So 1982, for the first time, EVM on trial basis were seen where in the areas of the Kerala. Next, in 2001, we saw it in the assembly of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry, West Bengal. Then in 2004, in general elections to the Lok Sabha, general elections to Lok Sabha, events were used in 543 constituencies. Okay. Then in 2013, what happened was that there was a judgment with respect to Subramaniam Swamy versus Election Commission of India. So Subramaniam Swamy versus Election Commission of India. And what did this judgment talk about? So this judgment said that the Supreme Court ruled that a paper trail, that means the VVPAT, the paper trail is actually an indispensable requirement. So paper trail is an indispensable requirement. That means very important. So indispensable requirement for free and fair election. Fine. Okay. Then in 2019, what was there? So in 2019 elections, EVM bagged with in 2019, EVMs were backed with 100% VVPAT in all constituencies. That means paper trail system was there by 2019 in all constituencies. Fine. Okay, so this was how the historical evolution of EVM took place. Now we shall discuss about what are the international practices with respect to EVM. That means, are they using EVM? If they are using EVM, what good they have encountered and how they have been using it. Right. So with respect to international practices, now what we found was that the many Western democracies have continued using paper ballots for their election. That means they have not switched to EVM. So this is the scenario with respect to the Western democracies. Fine. Other than that, after trial in last 2 decades, countries like England, France, Netherlands, and US have discontinued use of EVMs for national or federal elections. Then in Germany, what happened? So paper ballots still more prevalent in Western democracies. England, France, Netherlands, US use of EVMs for national or federal elections. In Germany, the Supreme Court of the country, that is Supreme Court of the Germany, declared the use of EVM in elections as unconstitutional. That means using EVM in Germany is referred or is termed as unconstitutional in 2009. Then there are some countries like Brazil. They are still using EVMs. Fine. Coming to Pakistan, they are also not using EVM. Now, what about Bangladesh? Since they are the neighboring countries of India. So in Bangladesh, they experimented with EVMs in few of the constituencies back in 2018, but they did not, go further with this technology. Rather, they reverted. Rather, they reverted to paper ballots for general elections in 2024. Fine. Okay. Whatever technology we use, whatever technology we bring in, or we think to prosper, or we think of that in more bigger aspect or in broader sense. The point is that what potential that technology is holding, and other than that potential, what good this technology is going to or going to bring into the system. So that means we should know what are the advantages of EVMs. So let's talk about Advantages of EVMs. Now, EVMs have brought up, significant level of transparency. So, transparency. Now, in countries like in developing countries, especially in India, there has been various scenarios where the process of booth capturing also took place. So, if you are using EVMs, this shall eradicate booth capturing. There will be more of transparency. Why eradication of booth capturing? Because they stuffle with the votes. Other than that, EVMs are also considered as eco-friendly. And why eco-friendly? Because if you are going to introduce EVMs, paper wastage could be checked because you are not switching to sorry, paper ballot system. So what is going to happen? This shall lead to more transparency, less of or significant decrease in booth capturing, more of eco-friendly. Why? Because this shall reduce the consumption of paper. Fine. This shall also bring in what? You can say administrative convenience. And why administrative convenience? Because administrative convenience. Okay, administrative convenience because of handling of machines and also handling of machines and also the counting process might get faster. Fine. Okay. What else with respect to the EVMs and the voting system? Now, these were something, good aspect of using EVMs. But since I've just discussed that there are many Western countries who somewhere or other, this is affecting your, you say, or this might not ensure transparency, or there might be stuffing of the votes with EVM. That could be the reason because of which international arena they are still stuck to the paper ballot system. So let's see what are the issues behind the EVM. So what are the issues behind EVM? So now, one such issue is there have been many allegations of hacking. Now, these allegations of hacking is with respect to what? That means it is considered that since it's an electronic device, it could be hacked, or you can say this could be accessed through external devices. So, allegations of hacking, access through external devices. access to into external devices, and this is the reason, like these are the allegations that are coming on EVM. So one such issue is this. Other than that, the EVM count and what is happening is the sample size for matching of EVM count with VV per slip at present is 5 per assembly constituency segment. This is not based on any scientific criteria and may fail to detect defective EVMs during counting. That means there are high chances that the vote that you have casted on EVM and the VV per slip might not match. Fine. This was with respect to EVMs. Let's move on to the next article. Just a minute. Okay, so we have two articles here. One is your with respect to the pulses boost, and another one is with respect to micro entrepreneurs which lack training. That means SC/ST aspirants face greater knowledge gap. So first we'll do pulse needed production cost. So let's see what the article is all about. Now, what is there? That is, India has been facing a lot of problem of persistence shortage in pulses production. So India is facing shortage in pulses production, and this is set to get worsened. Why worsen? With a significant fall in output during the year of 2023 to 2024. Now, this shall result in what? Inflation in pulses, and once there is inflation is pulses, what is going to happen is that there will be deficiency or there will be deficit of pulses in domestic production. And there shall be consequent rise in prices, making them unaffordable for poor. Now, before we study about that inflation in pulses, etc. For that, we should also know that what are pulses. So, India is the world's largest. India is the world's largest producer of pulses, and if it is the world's largest producer of pulses, that means there are close to 23 million tons from an average of 30 million hectares. Now the country also, that means India also accounts for 35% of, that means India comprises of 30% of global area and 27% of global production of pulses. That means at international level, India comprises of what? Or you can say 27% of what the production India is having. 27 production at global level is of pulses by India. Now, what are the suitable conditions in which pulses could be grown? So, pulses are commonly grown under rain-fed condition. So,
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Okay, so now the point is that as the poverty reduction is there, so what is happening is there is more demand of pulse, and there is a huge mismatch between the demand and supply of the pulse, because there is more demand as compared to the supply in the market of the pulse. Now, other than that, the domestic production of pulse, that means there is a significant increase as compared to past. There is continuous lag demand. Now, as a result, India has always or has remained dependent on imports of pulses. Fine. Other than that, we have limited import sources. Now, India is the largest producer as well as consumer of pulses in the world. Now, seeing that there's a huge demand of pulses, and India is still dependent on imports with respect to pulses. The point is that what has the administration, or what has governments take on pulse production. So what have or how the government is dealing with it. So NFSM, that means National Food Security Mission. The pulses aim to increase, or sorry, the government aims to increase pulses production by 3 million tons. And also there has been increase in MSP. Other than that, there has been a price stabilization fund scheme. Price stabilization fund scheme to check volatility in the prices of pulses. Also, we have price support scheme working under PM Asha Yojna. Fine. Okay. Now let's move on to the next article. Okay, so the next article talks about just a minute. Okay. The next article talks about just a minute, just a second. Okay. Okay, so most micro entrepreneurs lack training. SC/ST aspirants face greater knowledge gap. So now let's discuss about this. What is it? That the SC, most micro entrepreneurs lack training, and SC/ST aspirants face greater knowledge gap. now what it is. Now, what is the issue with the micro, small, medium enterprises? So the MSME sectors employs close to 111 million people, and this is considered to be the second largest employer after agriculture. Now, this contributes to 28% of India's GDP and 45% of our manufacturing output. Fine. Now the point is that what are government's initiatives for micro, small, medium enterprises. So if you see, there are a lot of credit transfer schemes, and there is Pradhan Mantri Employment Generation Program in order to provide financial support for setting up new MSMEs. Then we have MSME Samadhan, we have Samban, we have national manufacturing competitiveness programs, etc. So all these initiatives deal with MSME programs. Now the point is that the definition of MSME, what is the new definition of MSME? So there has been a lot of changes in the past that were made with respect to MSME classification. So presently what we are having is that any manufacturing enterprise and the service enterprise. With respect to micro enterprise, should have an investment of less than rupees 1 crore. Then also the turnover of my manufacturing and service micro enterprise comprises of less than 5 crores. Then we come to small enterprise. This comprises of investment of less than 10 crores and a turnover of 50 crores. Then you have a medium enterprise, and this medium enterprise consists of investment of less than rupees 50 crores and a turnover of less than rupees 250 crores. Now, this is the classification of micro, small, medium enterprises with respect to the revised classifications. Fine. Okay, so what you can do over here is, because I'm short of time, so you can study about where do they get access to finance, what is the recommendation of the economic survey with respect to MSMEs. Now, when it comes to recommendations coming from the economic surveys, there are various government incentives with respect to MSME. Then there are giant MSMEs also. So all of this will probably tell you about the status and the condition of MSMEs. Okay, so this much for today. Thank you so much.